This is Donald Trump. He did an interview on a TV show called Flashpoint. It's on the Victory Network. It's owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. So he gave this interview to Flashpoint, who, by the by, are massive Trump fans, like out of this world's Trump fans. Like this is the MAGA TV show if there ever was one. So I wanted to listen to this interview that they did with him because I'm sure it gets absolutely unhinged from reality. I haven't seen it yet. Let's watch it together and see what they have to say. On the left here is the host, Gene Bailey. And then we got some other people I'll talk about as we get into it a little more. I got to find where to actually start because he usually does like sponsorships and stuff in the opener. So
you're with us tonight. So many great things. Listen, if you haven't shared this program on all your social media channels, go do it right now. Get the word out. Spread the word about Flashpoint, coming to you every Tuesday and Thursday, bringing you the truth.
All right, get to it.
For all your support, keeping Flashpoint going every week. I want to say a special welcome to Lance Wallnau and Pastor Hank Kuhneman. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Gene.
Yeah, good to have you here. All right, well.
So I guess they have Lance Wallnau and Kuhneman here. These are a couple of Seven Mountains Dominionists is what they're called. Christian nationalists, for all intents and purposes. Self-avowed. They call themselves Christian nationalists, so it's not like an insult. So, yeah, I guess they're on this TV show with him, and they're going to talk about their nutter buttery as usual. Okay, go on.
Before we get into tonight's show, I want to, we have a special report from Victory News chief correspondent, Mike Garofalo. What do you have for us tonight, Mike?
Oh, God, this is the guy they have on from time to time to pretend to be like a news anchor or something. This is kind of interesting. By the way, while we watch this, we're going to play some Pokemon Fire Red. It's actually a ROM hack of Fire Red called Ultraviolet, where I can catch every Pokemon in the game. So, anyway, yeah, let's keep listening.
Gene, a powerful lineup of speakers took to the stage at the state capitol in Austin over the weekend. They came to take part in the How Many More rally, declaring the chaos at our southern border has to end.
Okay, the southern border, this is like a piece of propaganda that the right simply will not give up on. The southern border, like the border policy, is no different now than it was, under Trump. Everything is basically exactly the same. So any complaints that they have now, in my mind, are completely invalidated because they were completely silent when Trump had the reins of power. They didn't say a word about the border. In fact, they said it was great. They just wanted a wall there is all. Absurd.
The crisis that has befallen this country is being hidden from the American people. We talk about human trafficking. I don't think we have human trafficking in this country. We have modern-day slavery in this country.
From organizers.
Wow, that's a tall claim. For what it's worth, like a lot of the people, in fact, I would venture to say nearly all of the people that are coming over the southern border are not immigrants. They are refugees. There's a distinct difference. They're people coming from war-torn areas that have nowhere else to go. They're trying to escape to the nearest, what's it called? The nearest UN certified something or other. Like there's a list of countries that are certified to take refugees in, and the U.S. is one of them, and they are like legally required to accept refugees if they make it, to the nearest like UN building or whatever. That's actually what's happening on the southern border. You know where most immigrants are coming in from? Like, Europe. They're flying in from Europe. In fact, most immigrants, illegal immigrants, as they'd say, are coming in legally and overstaying their visas. There isn't this huge flood of people coming over the border because they want to get one over on Republicans or some other nonsense. It's a complete misrepresentation and misunderstanding of the situation. Is that intentional? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Like an intentional misunderstanding.
Convention of States founder Mark Meckler to the founder of the Texas Border Volunteers, Dr. Mike Vickers, whose ranch has a story all of its own.
It's escalated to the point that it...
Oh, great. We've got anecdotes of random people who nobody has ever heard of. Perfect. That's exactly what I like to hear.
Vickers, whose ranch has a story all of its own.
It's escalated to the point that it is now, where it's just a whole-scale invasion of our property, dead people showing up, sick people showing up.
Dead people showing up, huh? Sick people showing up. The gall of these dead and sick people to show up on your property. It's your property, right? Can you imagine a dead person just waltzing his ass onto your property? What's wrong with people?
We found 119 dead bodies.
Of course, they have this anecdote guy to come in and tell this anecdote rather than actually show statistics and data. Just ridiculous, man, and disgusting.
We don't have an immigration problem in the United States. What we have is a slave trade problem. We have a drug trafficking problem. And it's directly related to the open border that we face.
We don't have an open border. This is completely made up. We haven't had an open border in a long time. It is just as closed now as it was under Donald Trump. This is completely made up. But they have this obsession with hating the Democrats, and they believe that claiming that the border is open is going to benefit them in primaries and elections. So they're going to sit here and claim that the border is open. Probably the people at the top, at the very least, knowingly lying about that. They know the border isn't open. And spreading this propaganda because they think it'll help them in the election.
Right here in Texas.
Look, if you've been paying attention for the past 2 years or the past few hours, you know it's undisputed that what's happening at our southwest border is a self-inflicted, unmitigated catastrophe of a crisis that's unmatched in parallel and in modern history.
I mean, you can say that all you want. It's completely made up. That's not happening on the southern border. This is like beyond fear-mongering. And what makes this even worse is that the border is somewhere that most people probably won't see in their lifetimes. They have no idea how good or bad it actually is on the border, and they have no way to verify it aside from asking, people that are there. So they get a bunch of people up on stage to claim that the border is a complete train wreck. And you have no way of checking that. Now, as far as border policies go, it's exactly the same now as it was under Trump, basically. So we can use that as one of the metrics. We can look at the source of most immigration in the U.S. It's not people coming over the border. It's people overstaying their visas, coming from Europe, stuff like that. The border is objectively not as big of a problem as people seem to want to make it out to be, or as Republicans want to make it out to be. Absurd.
Some even drove hours to be here.
I'm all for people coming to this country, right? And I know countries that they're leaving probably don't have opportunity. I get that, right? But we can't just have open borders.
Like Ned Schneider from Canyon Lake.
Yeah, we don't have open borders.
Like Texas.
It's high time that we put troops down on the border and stop this invasion.
And Sandra Whitten, who lives in...
It's not an invasion.
Troops down on the border and stop this invasion.
And Sandra Whitten, who lives in Laredo.
We're already seeing where Muslims are coming across the border right now today.
That is not happening. Muslims coming across the border, really? You think Muslims are coming across the border? There are no... God, this is the most fear-mongery nonsense I think I've ever heard in my life. This is like that caravan that showed up during the midterms. Was it 2018, I think? Republicans claimed there was a caravan that was on its way to the United States coming from Central and South America, and it had Muslim terrorists all through it. You guys remember that? If you weren't involved in politics at the time, let me refresh your memory. This is from 2018. Yeah, late October 2018. This is Robert Jeffress. He's an evangelical leader. He was on Lou Dobbs tonight on Fox Business. I think Lou Dobbs was fired over something really stupid. It wasn't even his fault, but they placed blame on him over something. I don't remember what. Anyway, listen to old Robert Jeffress, evangelical leader, talk about this caravan.
I want to ask you about Governor John Kasich saying that caravan, God intended that caravan be allowed to cross our border. I'm paraphrasing him. I mean,
hang on now. Who was it?
I want to ask you about Governor John Kasich.
John Kasich said, okay, John Kasich was a Republican, honestly a far-right Republican from Ohio. He says God intended for the caravan to cross the border? Really? Did he really say that? I don't believe that for a second. This is absurd. John Kasich is a hard-right nutcase that was just anti-Trump back in 2016. That's it.
That caravan, God intended that caravan be allowed to cross our border. I'm paraphrasing him. I mean, but...
Paraphrasing, I bet. Totally. He was paraphrasing, right?
Does God want that?
No, look, God is the one who established borders. He is not a open borders kind of guy.
This is such a joke, dude. Come on.
Look at Acts 17. God created the idea of nations, and to have nations, you have to have a border. And look, Lou, I got to be with the president today in the Oval Office, and by the way, he sends his greetings to the great Lou Dobbs. But
it was Donald Trump at the time.
I've been with him on many occasions. I've heard him agonize over the plight of the dreamers and those who are in need. But he has said to me, and he has said to this nation, I have a responsibility to protect this nation, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect this nation.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like something Donald Trump would have said, honestly. So, yeah, I guess that was the end. So, that's the caravan debacle that was going on in 2018. I have another one, actually. It was, where was this? This is 2018. Maybe I don't have another. I thought for sure I had one from John Hagee, but yeah, I guess I don't have one from John Hagee. Never mind. Disregard. They just lost their minds over it. And this caravan back in 2018, they claimed it had Muslim terrorists that were coming over the border with them, and they were going to, like, get into all kinds of shenaniganery. It was just absurd, man. If a Muslim terrorist wanted to come into the United States, they would do it completely legally. They would find somebody who was above reproach, and they would apply for a visa, and they would get in, and they would raise absolutely zero suspicion. Do they think that we're just, like, not letting anybody who is Muslim into the country? It's just absurd. So, anyways, yeah, this is an old claim, what this woman said on this, this anti-immigration fear-mongering thing.
Witten, who lives in Laredo.
We're already seeing where Muslims are coming across the border right now today.
They're just completely made up.
There's a group of 10 that they found in Kinney County. We're seeing where there's a Russian mafia cartel lord in Eagle Pass who's actually picking out women as they're coming through the river.
Totally, I bet. Absolutely. And her proof? Trust me, bro. That's her proof. Trust me, bro.
Before Saturday's rally ended, Mark Meckler offered a challenge regarding Texas House Bill 20. He is asking those in the Lone Star State to call their representatives this week and demand they declare an invasion.
Just absurd, dude. It's disgusting. These are refugees. Oh, shoot. You know what? I just realized I have to battle the last gym. I forgot before I can continue on. Anyway, just absurd and honestly disgusting. These are people at their most vulnerable in their lives. These are people that are crossing the border because they have no other choice. These are not, Muslim terrorists. In all seriousness, these are refugees who are in danger for their lives. And these people are doing everything they can to demonize them and make their lives miserable. Just disgusting on so many levels, man.
You're going to have to tell them to secure our border. You can do it. Only you can do it.
Yeah, honestly, the people at the top of this movement, the people that organized it, in my opinion, don't believe this nonsense. Not for a second. I think they're just using this as a method of getting people bent out of shape and freaked out, a culture war issue, to get them to vote Republican because they think they're being invaded. Absurd.
Now, if you live in Texas, you can find the phone number for your representative by logging on to wrm.capital.texas.gov and enter your home address. Now, we do know HB 20 reportedly made it out of committee, and it is a speaker priority bill. So it should get a vote, we're told, Gene, either later this week or next. Back to you.
Thanks, Mike. That's good news. We just need to go do. All right, Flashpoint Army, those of you who live in Texas, you know what to do. All right, let's move along. Welcome to the program, Pastor Mark Burns from the great state of South Carolina. Hello, Pastor Mark.
Okay, this is Mark Burns, as I said, South Carolina. He ran for office in 2022, I think. Yeah, I think it's 2022 midterms. He is unhinged from reality, dude. He loves Greg Locke, too. He's a huge Greg Locke fan. And, yeah, he hates gay people. He hates trans people. You know, he hates all the people he's supposed to hate. And he's the black guy that they use to say really bigoted stuff so that they appear to be less bigoted. That's how it works.
Hey, my friend, Pastor Gene, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a while. Glad you're back here on Flashpoint. All right, so much news going on, but before I get into part one of my interview with President Trump, I want to ask this question. Lance, we've got Title 42 ending in just a few days.
I'm not sure what Title 42 is. May have to look that up.
They're lining up at the border in a bigger way than ever before. What do you think?
They're lining up on the border in a bigger way than ever before, really. They're lining up on the border? Well, show us pictures of people lining up on the border. This is completely made up, like all of it. There are refugees coming over the border because they're suffering terribly, weakest point in their lives. If people want to make it into the U.S., most of the time they're just going to get a visa and overstay.
What's your opinion on that? Are we going to see, are they going to, at the last minute, not pull Title 42? What about Title?
All right, what is Title 42? Let me look at it. Title 42 expulsions are removals by the U.S. government of persons who have recently been in a country where a communicable disease was present. The extent of authority for contagion-related expulsions set by law in 42 U.S. Code 265, subsection 265. Okay, is that what they're talking about? Am I missing some context? It's immigration-related somehow. Yeah, so it's a pandemic-era border policy, apparently, known as Title 42, expected to end on May 11th. Oh, okay, so this video came out May 2nd, so it was like 9 days until Title 42 comes to an end. I see. Title 42, first put in place by Trump at the start of the pandemic, allows migrants to be quickly expelled at the southern border without a chance to ask for asylum. Wow, that's really messed up. So that's super interesting. I'm reading this from the Wall Street Journal, and this is incorrect. Let me just show you what I'm reading here. Okay, this is the Wall Street Journal article, and it says here, it allows migrants to be quickly expelled at the southern border without a chance to ask for asylum. Migrants aren't asking for asylum. Refugees ask for asylum. And under international law, the United States is legally required to allow them an opportunity to make it to, what's it called, like a UN center, some kind of a UN certified center or whatever, where they can request asylum. They have to be able to make it to this location. So I guess Title 42, there's a huge, like all of the people that are coming over the border, by and large, are doing it in one stream from Mexico to this center where they can request asylum as refugees from war-torn areas and stuff. You're only considered a refugee if you're like from a war-torn area that's being destroyed. Is this Trump's anti-Muslim bill? I'm not sure. No, I don't think it is. No, I think this is different. So anyways, I guess Title 42 made it so that they could prevent refugees from making it to the location where they can request asylum. That's like the most depraved shit I've ever heard in my life. People are literally being murdered as political prisoners and finally make it into the United States, and what does the U.S. government do? What did Trump do? Expelled them, deported them, didn't allow them the opportunity to request asylum under international law. That's straight up depraved, dude. My God. So I guess that's apparently coming to an end it'll probably be at an end by the time you see this. It's apparently coming to an end May 11th, 2023. Okay?
Tidal wave. That's what we've got. And there's no way you're going to be able to stop it because this is a lawless administration. Doesn't it frustrate you to watch millions coming over a border? And meanwhile, we have no problem putting billions of dollars into preserving the border with Ukraine. I'll tell you what.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he's a Russian stooge, this guy is. I don't know if he's a useful idiot or if he intentionally works for Putin or what, but he's been carrying water for Russia for years and years and years. It isn't since Ukraine. We just listened to this clip. This is from immediately after the Ukraine war started. This is when basically everybody, except for Russian agents, were on the side of Ukraine in the entire world, or they were silent, one or the other. And listen to what Lance Wallnau said just like 2 days after the Ukraine war started.
You want a clear villain in this story? It's hard to make Putin the villain if you have all the facts, because the CIA and Hillary Clinton tried to invade Russia to undercut Putin, to bring the LGBT doctrine in. They had activists there. Putin locked it down, kicked them out, and clamped down like a good dictator does.
Wow, dude. To praise a dictator like that is insane. All right, here's another one. Let me find. I have a couple clips from this guy about Putin and Russia, and one of them is like really old. Hang on. Wait, I think this is the one. Yeah, here we go. Check this clip out. This is from 2018. Late May 2018, matter of fact. He was on Jim Bakker's TV show talking about how much he loves Vladimir Putin.
I'm suspicious when the establishment right and the entire left all hate one nation. You know what? I'm beginning to wonder what's right with Russia, that they're so vilified by the left.
This is before this whole culture war thing happened with Russia, where the right became like stooges of Russia. This is long before any of that. Like, Lance Wallnau was just apparently praising Russia. Did he have ties to Russia or what? Why is he doing this?
Putin is why is it we cozy up and carries over there bicycling with Iran right now? Hey, Putin is trying to be a friend to the West. What's their obsession? You see, what we did was under Hillary Clinton. You want to know why Putin would ever do something, that even could show up with anti-Hillary influence? Under Hillary's State Department, with the Ukraine and in Russia, the left progressives are like, they're intent on ideology. They're like evangelists. They have to get their ideas out there.
Dude, I love it how he compares the left to himself and his own ideology, and he does it in a derogatory way.
Organizations were exporting these agendas through like Soros-funded entities, etc., through organizations into the territory of Russia, where Putin actually has gone on record because his public policy has been shaped actually by Christians involved in his own in the Orthodox community.
So Russia is actually a Christian nationalist state, and we should aspire to be exactly like them. That's what he's saying right now. That is psychotic.
That he's for marriage between a man and a woman. Don't ever underestimate the hostility that America's system has towards anyone that won't bow the knee to the orthodoxy of the homosexual agenda.
Sounds like the leader of the Proud Boys was just convicted for January 6th, for his actions on January 6th. I'm not sure what he was doing on January 6th, but I know he's in jail for burning a Black Lives Matter flag that he found like out on somebody's property. He walked up to their property and pulled it down and burned it. And it was, he had to go to jail for that for like a long time. Anyway, keep listening here.
So he says he believes in Christianity, and he supports the state church, and he will not, he locked up the Pussycat Riot group or whatever, the group, and he's shutting down the LGBT community.
So what he's saying is he wants the United States to be just like Russia. He's speaking highly of the way that Vladimir Putin runs his country. And this is in 2018. That's insane.
Is the unpardonable sin to the liberal. I'm not saying that
The unpardonable sin to the liberal is like shutting down the LGBT, whatever. Is that what he said? Insane.
To the liberal. I'm not saying that Putin's a good guy. He's like a mafia chief over there. I mean, Russia's the Wild West still. But I will say that he is not nearly, as a Christian, you probably, if you're faithful to Russia and you're not a danger to his government, you're probably not going to find him an adversary in your own nation. I fear more liberals in America than I fear Putin in Russia.
Insane. Absolutely insane. So Lance Wallnau, as you've just heard, is a stooge for Putin. In my opinion, he's probably on Putin's payroll. As a matter of fact, Lance Wallnau just had his bank account frozen not too long ago for money laundering. Dead serious. He had his bank account frozen for money laundering, and he complained that the liberals are coming after him. Blah, 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 you know how they do. It's all made up. It's all fabricated. And the guy, it's fabricated persecution. And the guy, meantime, is working for Vladimir Putin. Seems completely obvious to me. So anyway, let's keep listening to this Flashpoint thing where Lance Wallnau talks about, you know, how great Putin is or whatever. Let's step back a few seconds here.
Watch millions coming over a border, and meanwhile, we're putting, we have no problem putting billions of dollars into preserving the border with Ukraine.
Is it really any surprise after all that you've heard him say that he's carrying water for Russia and demonizing Ukraine? Is there any surprise?
I'll tell you what, I came here to get on Flashpoint today, Gene. I had to go through 4 security identification checks at United Airlines in Houston. I'm convinced if we put United Airlines on the border with Mexico and Texas, we could probably stop this within one day. Because
dude, he has no idea what's involved in somebody immigrating to the United States. He thinks it's like this simple thing that anybody can do in like a day. Or does he know? Does he actually know how difficult it is to get into the U.S.? They have to jump through way more hoops than he had to jump through on United Airlines. It wasn't a United Airlines security measure that he went through. It was TSA. It was a federal agency that was making him go through all of that. Is he propagandizing? Is that what's happening right now? Is that what it's all about? Just propaganda? I mean, he definitely propagandizes constantly. But does he really not know, or is he aware that he's lying?
Because you can't get into an airline without multiple ID checks. I don't know how you're getting into the country. I can't bring a water bottle, but you could bring gun and fentanyl
That's
in.
right.
No, that you can't. Like, this is completely made up. All of it. You know where most of the drugs are coming in? They're not coming in through the border. They're coming in through ports, i.e., they're coming in through airplanes or the mail. It's been a while since I looked into this, but through ships and stuff like that. That's where most of it's coming in through. Last I checked. Should probably double check to make sure. But, the propagandist's going to propagandize, right? That's what it's all about.
So this is lawlessness, my friend. Pure lawlessness.
Lawlessness. Master Mark Burns, you agree with that? What are we going to do?
Well, absolutely agree with that. I'm just chuckling. But the reality of it is it's a true statement. I just believe that the court is the Biden administration.
Okay, why was he chuckling? What was the point of saying that? Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I was just chuckling. Yeah, we saw you were chuckling. Why were you chuckling? This is a serious situation. Do you not believe this? Like, why are you chuckling right now? Look at this dude.
Absolutely agree with that. I'm just chuckling.
Yeah, we know you are.
But the reality of it is it's a true statement. I just believe that the court is the Biden administration have just declared war on the sovereignty of American citizens down at the border. I mean,
what? Biden declared war on the sovereignty of American citizens on the border. What does he mean by that? Was that just like, what do you call it? Like, just gibberish? Is he just putting words together that ultimately mean nothing when side by side?
It is lawlessness at the highest caliber. Just yesterday, a gentleman by the name of Francisco Perez, who was deported 4 times, Gene, 4 times, is now wanted for killing 5 people. One of them is a 9-year-old child. This is just yesterday in Texas. These are the type of
okay, I don't know what he's talking about, but you know what would help that? It would help if we had fewer guns floating around. That would be really, really helpful.
And evil crimes that are happening to American citizens down there on the border, and many of them feel, betrayed. They feel as though that the Biden administration and the American government has just abandoned them to the onslaught of illegal activity that has crossed into our border.
This is all just fear-mongering garbage. The border is no different now than it was under Donald Trump, but they do this every single time, the far right. When there's a Democratic control of anything at all, they blame all the problems on the Democrats in some way. They did this exact thing. You can see how this plays out with, like, Donald Trump and Greg Locke. Okay, this is Greg Locke losing it, absolutely losing it at what's going on in the country right now. Under Donald Trump. This is when Trump was the president, okay?
I'm standing there. I've ordered my stuff. I've paid for my stuff. I've kindly, gently talked to the ladies that have talked to me every single day that are super nice. And then all of a sudden, here comes Nazi Skippy. He comes walking out with this little mask, and he's like, "Sir, I just want you to know." Now, by the way, he didn't have to embarrass me in front of everybody, but he did, which was probably a mistake because I'm not a real silent guy when you push my buttons too far. He's like, "Sir, the next time you come into my store, I want you to have a mask on." I said, "Okay, Lord, just help me. May I stay calm? May I not say a word? But I'm not a sheep."
Didn't Jesus specifically instruct people to be like sheep? I'm just throwing it out there.
And so sometimes I just have to say things back. I'll go to jail over this situation. It is the golden calf. I'm sick of Christians saying things like this. Well, it's just a mask. No, it's not just a mask. It's a compliance device. This is not about safety. This is about surrendering of our rights. Can I remind you, this is still the United States of America. This is not communism. This is not China. This ain't North Korea. I don't live in Haiti. I don't live some other country somewhere where I'm under the guise of communism and socialism. This is the United States of America. Y'all hear me? Trump 2020.
Wait. Hang on. Okay, those things don't match up. Let's just dissect this for a second. He's yelling for Trump 2020. Well, this is under Trump's presidency. You're complaining about what's happening under Trump right now. This doesn't make any sense. He's complaining about this being a communist country under Trump and then saying he wants Trump again? So he blames everybody except for Republicans when something goes wrong. And when a Democrat is in office, he blames everybody. And when a Democrat's in office, he blames only the Democrat, ever. See how that works? He's literally complaining about what's happening under a Trump presidency. Decisions that Trump made. Absurd on every level. And aside from all of that, Donald Trump, interestingly enough, he released a campaign ad not too long ago with, it was basically an ad that says, "This is Biden's America. This is so bad." Blah, blah, blah. Well, as it turns out, all of the pictures, or most of the pictures anyways, that he popped up were from Trump's America. They were things that happened under Donald Trump. They were from like 2020. Seriously. There is no sense of hypocrisy, no sense of self-awareness, no logic to be found in these people. It's ridiculous. So anyway, let's keep listening here.
To the onslaught of illegal activity that has crossed into our border. They have declared war on the United States of American sovereignty. We got to close borders now, Gene.
Amen to that. Amen. Pastor Hank, your thoughts?
Well, it's exactly what one of the commentators said. It's an invasion. When people are coming and they're, the word border is right in the middle of it is the word order. And when you don't have order.
Okay, what? Right in the middle of the word border is order. No, I wouldn't say it's right in the middle. I'd say it's kind of to the right a little bit, right?
In borders, you have disorder, you have chaos. And I was thinking about the scripture in Numbers.
Did he think that was like insightful? This guy's just embarrassing sometimes.
In borders, you have disorder, you have chaos. And I was thinking about the scripture in Numbers 32 that the mighty men at that time, they said, listen, we are going to go for the sake of our nation, Israel, and we are going to take our promised land. And watch this, we are going to provide fenced cities for our children. And that's exactly what we need to do. We've got to keep
fenced cities. What's he talking about? Provide fenced cities for our children? What?
For our children. And that's exactly what we need to do. We've got to keep the innocent in mind when it comes to open borders, because open borders, it's the same people that are pushing it. It really is open to anything.
Nobody is pushing open borders. Nobody believes in open borders. Almost nobody. Although, for what it's worth, immigration is actually phenomenally good for an economy. Holy shit, dude. Do you know what happens when there are more people in a country? The economy is larger. That's how this works. That's why the U.S. and China and Russia and others want higher birth rates. Because the more people you have, the better the economy does. That's why the baby boomer generation boosts the economy and then slowly destroyed it shortly after. Having more people does absolutely incredible things for an economy. Now, can anybody tell me why Republicans don't want immigrants coming to the United States? It is probably the best thing that could possibly happen for the U.S. It would make us so much stronger as a country. Holy shit. My best guess is Republicans don't want immigrants coming to the U.S. today for the same reason they didn't want immigrants coming to the U.S. I'm sorry. For the same reason that the KKK didn't want immigrants coming to the U.S. back in the, between the 20s and the 90s. They didn't want it because they're racist. Because, as Tucker Carlson says, immigrants will make this country poorer and dirtier, right? That's their belief. Misinformed and based on racism and hatred. If they really cared about America, they would throw the doors wide open. But, okay.
And last, I want to say this, Pastor Gene, I wish you would have told me to wear my red tie, but there was a red tie that was on our borders. It was by President Trump.
That's right.
It was a conservative order, a red tie that was...
Dude, what is he even talking about?
Absolutely bringing order to disorder, and I believe that we've got to go back and look very closely at what was working and why it's not working today.
Well, there was no difference then. I'm sorry. Well, there's no difference then and now. Like, they're the same border policy. Nothing has changed fundamentally. I think Biden put a concerted effort into reuniting children that were separated from their parents and paid the families restitution for separating them under Donald Trump. I think that's just about the only difference. And we're not separating them anymore.
The sake of sanity and protection of our children especially. And like that one person said, even the women, it's horrible.
It is horrible indeed. And one thing we need to keep in mind, every state in the union is now a border state because of the people that are coming across, whether they're from Venezuela, in some Eastern Europe, as well as...
It's completely made up. If people are coming from Eastern Europe, they'll just come from Eastern Europe. Why would they fly to Mexico and sneak over the border? That makes no sense.
South America and Argentina and some of these places where there's a lot of countries are dumping their criminals on our feet at our border.
It's just completely made up. All of it. It's entirely made up. These people live in a fantasy land.
Imagine what we need to take care of. But listen, we're going to have hope. We're going to have faith because, listen, we're going to see God come through. We're going to see it. I truly believe it. The worse things get, the more encouraged I am. Strangely.
Well, that's the thing. Things are not worse on the border. They're better, if anything, a little bit. Border policy is basically the same as it's ever been under Trump. They are just like, these people are obsessed with creating this facade that everything is crumbling right now. Everything is falling apart, and it's because there isn't a Republican in office. Insane.
Enough, because I know God's not going to go back on his word to us. We're going to see that. That does not mean we don't have work to do. You and I have work to do. Like, we need to keep pounding our elected officials about this border.
Like I pounded your mom last night.
It's not okay. I know you're tired of doing that, but we need to keep doing that. We must keep letting our elected officials know they work for you, not the other way around. Remember that. They work for you. All right, let's move along. Just a few days ago, I had the ability to sit down at Mar-a-Lago.
Ooh, here we go. This is the Trump interview. I'm excited to see how this interview goes. It's going to be unhinged from reality. I'm 100% sure about that. But it'll be interesting.
With President Trump, our second time to come in. And it was a very interesting meeting. You see, he was coming in there at Mar-a-Lago in the private dining room, a beautiful room.
Oh, I guess he invited them to Mar-a-Lago? Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. Trump is a very hated figure. I don't think I would want to go anywhere if I were Trump. I would want them to come to me in Mar-a-Lago. So,
room there at Mar-a-Lago. There's Jason as he's coming in, getting ready. I want to show you just part one of the interview. You're going to see the entire interview tonight, but I want to break this in half, because the first part of this interview, we sat down and we talked to President Trump about President Trump, the man. Watch.
Okay, fascinating. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to call that section there. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. I was deeply entertained. If you want to see Trump's interview with these people, stick around for part 2.